be creative.
Right, let's figure it out. In accordance,
We do have one, yeah.
in accordance with Section 5 of the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975, be advised that a notice of this meeting was made by posting on the bulletin board, town hall, and mailing to the officially designated newspapers, list of the meeting dates annually, indicating that this meeting would take place at Town Hall at 7 p.m. on September 16th.
Joseph Caulfield,
Present.
Chandru Harjani,
Here.
Priscilla Sarat,
Here.
Georgianne Peng,
Here.
Vice Chair Jessica Brett,
Here.
Chair Dick Bender.
Here. We'll start this evening with a couple sets of meeting approval minutes. First one being of July 15th, 2024. Any corrections or changes, and who is eligible?
Joseph, Chandru, Amy, Gary, Regina, Georgianne, Jessica Brett.
So, any corrections or changes from that list? If not, can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Move approval, meeting minutes, calendar, for 7/15/24.
And a second?
I can second.
All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Next up, we have 8/5/24, the minutes of 8/5/24. Any corrections or changes? If not, same crew or not?
Yes.
Same crew, okay. Can I have a motion?
Move to accept. Second.
All those in favor?
Yeah.
Aye, anyone opposed? Okay, moving on to memorialization. First, we have calendar 4/0/02/24. Alex Bergman at 134 Parsons Hill Road, Short Hills. Any corrections or changes? And who is eligible?
Which one are you doing? Allen Drive?
Bergman, yeah, 20.
Oh, Parsons Hill.
4/0/02.
Joe, Chandru, Regina, who's not here? Priscilla, Jessica.
Can I have a motion if there's no corrections or changes?
Move approval.
And a second?
Second.
Joseph Caulfield,
Yes.
Chandru Harjani,
Yes.
Priscilla Sarat,
Yes.
Jessica Black.
Yes.
Next up, we have calendar 4/0/01/24. VJ Nambier and Anthony VJ at 1 Allen Drive.
Eligible are Chandru, Priscilla, Jessica.
Any corrections or changes? Otherwise, can I have a motion?
Move to approve.
And a second?
Second.
Chandru Harjani,
Yes.
Priscilla Sarat,
Yes.
Jessica Black.
Yes.
Okay, so a couple of announcements here regarding the applications for this evening. We had a rather lengthy list on our agenda, which has been truncated. So calendar 3925, which is Lucky Express USA at 11 Mount Ararat Road. That matter will be carried to November 4th meeting. 2024, no further notice will be given. Any corrections or changes will be put onto the county website. Next up, we have calendar 399524. That is David Schefter at 52 Meadowbrook Road. That matter is going to be carried to 10/7/24. So if you're here for that one, that matter will be carried till then, and with no further notice. Next up, we have calendar 399624. The applicant is Stefanos Arethas at 38 Crescent Place. That matter is being carried to 11/4/24. No further notice will be given on that. Next up, we have calendar 398424. Varun and Nidhai Rastogi at 57 Factory Drive. That matter will be carried to 10/21/24 with no further notice. So first up this evening, we have a matter that was previously heard in front of this board, calendar 391123, property located at 146 Sagamore Road. So would that applicant like to come on down?
Good evening, Gary Goodman on behalf of Maya Garbayo, who is the owner and resides at 146 Sagamore Road. This application was carried from a prior date. Purpose of Ms. Garbayo's application is to try and utilize in a better fashion her backyard at her residence. At the last meeting, there were a number of suggestions made by the board with regard to reducing the extent of the variances. And as Mr. Gallerano, our engineer planner, will testify, we have worked to eliminate the majority of the variances, and we're left simply with the C1 slope variance. With that, I would like to call Mr. Gallerano.
So this is sworn. Okay, so you'll be speaking as an architect as well, correct?
Engineer.
Engineer, later, okay. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So I have there's 3 renderings, there's 3 revised renderings that these are exactly what was submitted with the package. They're just enlarged for the presentation. So Mr. Goodman pointed out, we did make several changes based on feedback in the last meeting.
So I'm sorry, Tony, this rendering has been provided to the board,
Yes.
just in a smaller version.
Smaller version, correct. Yeah, this is just an enlarged version, so unaltered, what was submitted. So I'll go right to the changes. So the first change is we reduced the impervious coverage for the accessory to the 7% that was allowable. And basically that was by eliminating from this side door, there were some steps and some additional walks that were eliminated. We reconfigured the lower patio, so that brings the impervious coverage to the 7%. So we've eliminated the need for that variance. We've also reconfigured the fence. First, the fence was changed from a 6-foot solid to a 4-foot ornamental, with an open configuration. And we've pushed that fence back 3 feet from the wall, top of the wall, and provided landscaping along the top of the wall. That eliminates the need for the wall fence height combination. So that's eliminated that variance as well. And then lastly, we discovered at the last meeting, we missed that. There's a requirement in the ordinance that there can be no disturbance to a steep slope within 5 feet of the property line. So in this area along the back, this side property line, we pulled that wall back or pulled it in 5 feet. So therefore not to create any disturbance to that steep slope. So that's also eliminated the need for that variance. At this point, we just have one variance is for the disturbance to the steep slope. Under the ordinance, it's 1,000 square feet is permitted, and we're over by 738 square feet. That was slightly reduced when we moved this wall in. We eliminated about 125 square feet of disturbance. Also keep in mind that 1738 square foot also includes an area along the side here. We're just putting gravel just to clean up that area. It's kind of a tough area to maintain. We're really not regrading or doing anything to that area except putting the gravel down. We did include that as a disturbance, but that's, again, it's just really just a gravel dress on top of that. So with that, I mean, that's what we have as far as the changes and the elimination of some of the variances. I did take a look around the area, and as you know, I don't think everybody's familiar with this area. Every property in this area slopes. If you drive around the neighborhood, you'll see that there's quite a few houses. I think most of the houses do have some kind of a wall, which basically, it's almost impossible to do anything out there, to have any kind of usable area without creating some kind of a wall. So I just have a couple of photos. I just want to pass them out real quickly. Yeah, this is just kind of gives you an idea of the hardship that you're up against in this area, trying to create a usable area.
Hold on a second.
Just a question on the gravel, what estimate is that area? One that you said is slope, there's no disturbance, but just the gravel put up.
Yeah, let me just, actually, you can probably see that better with the plot plan. Okay, actually, this is another view, just looking at the house, that area.
Hold on a second.
Okay, sure.
This second colored rendering was also provided to the board.
Yes.
But this is just a larger version of that 2x3 version.
Yes, correct, no change. So this is area along the side here, there's a walkway and then there's a wall. That's about 150 square feet of area. That's just gravel, you get no grading or anything like that. So it's just kind of a hard area to maintain, being this kind of between the walkway and the wall, so it's just.
And you said that's included in your disturbed area?
We included
Yeah,
that,
you
but
did,
yeah,
okay.
we did include that.
But
I
it's
just
just
pointed
around.
out that we're really, we weren't sure it would count as a disturbed area, so we just included it to be safe.
Just your revised site plan, I'm looking at the Harbor Consultants plot plan, most recent revision, August 26, 2024. Does it reflect the calculation to get to the 1,738 square
Yes.
feet?
Yes. Again, that's about, it's 125 square feet less than the original application. That's just due to this, where we pulled the wall in on the side just to create a, to eliminate disturbing that steep slope of 5 feet, so. And also just real quickly, there was one other rendering that was included with the
Hey,
package.
Tony, just so we're clear, so I asked you about that plot plan. It looks on the plan, it says steep slope area to be disturbed, 1,863 square feet. On the left. Is that? Let's just make sure we get our numbers right, that's all. I see on your zoning table, it says 1738.
Yeah, I just forgot to change it on the plan, but it is 1738, that's the actual.
Okay, and it's in the area that you're identifying on the top left-hand corner of your plot plan?
That's correct. Yeah, I mean, it's actually kind of easier to see on the rendering. It's really, this whole area of the yard, is all the steep slope. So it's really impossible to do anything in the yard without creating some kind of a disturbance. I mean, it's just, unfortunately, that's what it is. So, I do have some photos. Everybody wants to. Oh, yes, okay.
So I believe, Eileen, that we're up to A2.
I think we've only had one.
Right, so.
Thanks.
So all the photos are A2?
Why don't we'll mark this as A2, did everybody get a copy? So why don't you lay a foundation as to what A2 is? We're gonna mark A2 as one exhibit, which consists of 1, 2, 3, 4, looks like 5 photos.
Correct.
All right, so
So Tony, you took these pictures yourself?
No, what I did was, I took these from Google Street View. I'm finding lately that if I stay in front of somebody's house, taking a picture of it, generally, the police are there in 5 minutes. So I did drive the neighborhood. I mean, I'm familiar with it, but I just felt it was better just to pull these off for Google for the presentation purposes. So the first photo is
well, before you go through the photos,
give us the punchline. What's the purpose of introducing this?
Okay, so I'm just trying to show that, because this entire area slopes, right, the entire neighborhood, every lot has some kind of slope to it. Just trying to show that it's really difficult, almost impossible to do anything on these, property out there without creating some kind of a wall. It's just to get a usable area or a level area. There's no way to do it without some kind of a retaining wall. So that's what this is for. It's just to kind of to show what's around the area. So the first photo is, the address is actually 92 Pine Street. This is the opposite corner along Sagamore from the subject property. As you can see, they have kind of a similar situation, a tiered wall. That lot is also sloping. There's also a couple of rock walls in the front. So not, again, it's not exactly the same configuration, but it's kind of the same idea that they also needed to create some level area and needed the walls. 152 Sagamore, which is the second photo, that's the property directly next door. And again, you can see some walls in the back there to create to create a patio area. The third photo is across the street on Sagamore. And again, it's just to show you, in order to grade those driveways, those lots need a retaining walls, and that's pretty typical if you drive along, again, Sagamore Road. If you drive also up and down Pine Street and Cypress, you'll see the same thing. The fourth photo is actually just a street shot on Pine Street looking up towards Sagamore. And again, if you look to the left and the right, you'll see, retaining walls. These are in the front yard primarily to be able to grade in a driveway. And then just lastly, same shot, same view looking up towards Sagamore and Cypress. Again, if you look to the right, to the left, you'll see, these retaining walls. And again, these are for the purpose of putting a driveway in, but it's the same concept. If you need to create a level area or somewhat level area, you need to have some kind of a retaining wall. It's just couldn't be possible to do it. So, this is just basically to support, my argument for C1 variance. I think clearly, due to the topography of the site, I do believe that does fall under the C1 criteria. So with that, I don't have anything else. Oh, one other thing, I do have a third rendering. You guys have it, but also just showing what this looks like. It looks like from the side. Again, you can see changing the fence, that would open the fence.
I don't think we have that one in our packet. Am I wrong? Yep.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, I'm altering. It's just a remark, second mark. Again, it's just a view. If you're looking from Sagamore, you see the, again, they open beds with the landscaping behind it. Again, better view probably with that before. With that, that's all I have.
Questions for the board?
Any question for?
You bumped the back wall, rear wall in 5 feet at one section. You didn't do the entire wall though.
No, the wall, we moved the fence in 3 feet, but the wall only bumps in this area here along that side property line, only because this area is a steep slope, and your ordinance says you can't disturb it at 5 feet from the property line. So we wanted to just eliminate that variance. And the applicant was going to landscape that area anyway, so it wasn't like it was a loss of usable area. There was the intention was to landscape the perimeter anyway. So.
And just based on the renderings from the last submission to this one, the wall there along the southeasterly line's a little higher. What's the height of that wall?
So when I realized on the last rendering, it was a little, it wasn't correct. It wasn't a correct view. It was a little, how do you want to say, it wasn't altered. It just didn't reflect what was out there. So this wall is 5 feet, but then it tapers all the way down to 0. So with the last rendering didn't quite reflect that exactly. That was a little out of proportion. That's the word I was looking for.
You had 11-foot variance though on the first application.
Right,
on the
that's
back
correct.
corner, and then you stepped it in, so you eliminated the.
Correct.
variance.
I was wondering, have we discussed any water management here, stormwater management?
Yeah, that's a good point. So what we did was we going to install a small detention pipe along that property line. There'll be a catch basin in the corner, everything will grade to this corner. will catch that water, there'll be a detention pipe, and that'll discharge out to Pine Street, out into the storm sewer.
Anything further? Any questions from the audience for the?
That is our testimony tonight. We feel that we've listened to your suggestions and tried to implement them as best we could. We ask for your support. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comment from the audience in regards to this application? So I'll close the public portion of this application. Board members, your thoughts?
I like that the applicant has really scaled back the plans and listened to what the board had to say at the last meeting where the application was heard. I'm fine with the steep slope disturbance. And I don't see a way that you can make this usable without a steep slope disturbance. And it's really, you know, a characteristic of the entire neighborhood. So I would be happy to support the application.
Yeah, I think this is probably the least invasive way of trying to achieve this goal. I think it's very well done now. It's extremely well done. And it's not a land grab by any means in terms of the steep slope disturbance. I think it's kind of what you need to get this done and have it look right. And I think it's very well executed. So I would support this application.
Agree with that. Clearly, there is hardship and with this topography in that back section, so well drawn on plan, agree with the comments that so would be supported.
I think that rendering is excellent, you know, that you just put together there, that's on the board there, so I support that entirely. I think you actually should also get credit for the extra 150 square foot of the gravel area, because I'm not too sure that would be a disturbance anyway, so. I mean, it's even smaller than you say it is, so I'm definitely in support of it.
So who's on the board?
Sean Drew, you, Jessica.
And Jeff. Okay. So would one of you like to make a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Joseph Solomon,
Yes.
Shadi Marjani,
Yes.
Esther Black,
Yes.
and Putnam.
Yes. Good luck with the project.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Next up, we have 398924. Alok Merchant at 241 Long Hill Drive. Just 1 second. We'll start. Yeah, was our other application no show?
What's that?
Was the other application a no show or they? Great, good.
Could that be sworn or?
Yes, who's going to speak this evening? Well,
We have just remarks for a couple of minutes and then our architect's gonna take. the
Let's
show.
swear you all in then.
Okay.
Everyone, just raise your right hand, please. Swear from testimony about to give in tonight's proceeding, do the truth, whole truth, and but the truth.
I do.
Your name's the record.
Alok Merchant.
Nikita Varadia,
Spell it, please.
Nikitagoradia.
Daniel, and last name's Ensign, E-N-C-I-N.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, I'm Nikita Garagia and along with my husband Alap Merchant, we purchased our home in 2015. We have lived in Short Hills for about 9 years now. We are raising our family here and we are really invested in the community. I don't know if you guys remember, but we were here a few months back for my dental office variance, which got approved and the construction is underway. So we are now even more invested in the town. Well, we need to update our home and bring it to like a more current living situation and enhance the appeal of the house and the function as we have like a multi-generational family. Our parents are now retired and as they grow old, they're increasingly spending more time with us in the home. So we need like larger living area and dining area space and need to expand these areas and renovate our home. We've been working with Dan for all those plans, and because of the shape of our lot, we are at like a little bit of a we trigger the variances. Daniel will tell you about the variances that we need to we need the approval for.
Qualifications, if you could, Lord.
Sure. Daniel Ensign, I'm principal of Menem Design Architects. I'm a licensed and registered architect in the state of New Jersey since 2007. My license is in good standing. I've presented in front of this board multiple times and all of the adjacent municipalities.
Thank you. Credentials are accepted, so please continue.
Before I begin with presenting, there are one or two updates that are on the plans that are on here that differ from what is there.
Okay, so then we're gonna need to plug it in.
So, right, so first of all, I'm referring to, this is A1, is your plan, even though you have a Casey and Keller. I guess that's, whose plan is whose? Let's just be clear.
These are all,
Before we mark the plan.
these are all our plans. The Casey and Keller was the original survey and the delineation of the prevailing front yard setback. But that, all of this other information overlaid onto this plan and on our title block, this is all of our site plan.
Okay, so we have a date here, 4/5/24 issued for variance. Is there an update to this plan?
There is 9/5/24 revision.
All right, so why don't we mark this A1, revised site plan. Are there other sheets that have been revised as well?
Two other sheets within the set have been revised to reflect.
Okay, so we're gonna mark as A1 the entire plan sheet set.
Okay.
And then you'll just identify as you go through your testimony where the changes are as compared to what's before the board.
Mark this as exhibit
Mark that whole thing as A1, our A1 with today's date. And A1 for the record is gonna consist of the entirety of the plan set consisting of sheets A1 through A7. Is that accurate? And
yes.
These changes, did they exacerbate or reduce any of the variances?
They were specifically done in one area to reduce the requested amount of variance.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure you weren't in violation of your notice, so.
No.
Okay.
And starting with that, just to highlight the change, and then I'll walk through, the change is clouded up in the back portion of the site plan here. And what the change was, the largest variance that was being requested was for proposed rear yard setback. And the previous, or what is listed in the application is a requested 10.9 foot setback, which would be 6% of the depth of the lot. And in looking at it with no detriment to what's being proposed on the project or the deck area, it seemed to make sense that was the corner of the landing for the stairs. And so it seemed to make sense to shift that over along the deck. And by doing that, it increases the rear yard setback at that point to 13.2 feet from the proposed, previously proposed 10.9 feet,
So from that corner of that deck, you were 10.9 and now you're going to, what did you say?
13.2.
13.2, okay.
And that equals what percent of lot depth?
The 13.2 would be 8% of lot depth. And previously it was 6%.
And what's the variance now after the revised number? How much is required, 15?
The required for the lot is 20% of the depth of the lot. And it's the main issue that we're dealing with, and I'll run through it, is based on the unique shape of the property where this backside, basically the rear yard is a triangle. We have quite an extensive lot depth going back, and when you take the 20% of that lot depth, it's a significant rear yard setback, but that rear yard setback is coming from this angled line into the house. So it's almost like it's being taken from the side yard as opposed to the rear yard.
So that rear yard setback variance now, you're going from your proposed was 24.6 to 14.5%, correct?
The proposed rear yard setback before was 10.9 feet,
Oh, got it, and now, okay, I see what you're doing, okay, got it.
and now we're
Oh,
trying
that's
to.
accessory structure you're talking about, accessory structure setback.
No, the rear yard setback in the back corner of the deck.
No, I'm just looking at your table here, okay?
Mhm.
I'm trying to see on your table here, what you're helping out here.
Which table is it?
Yes, it's your attachment.
Okay, yeah, so
So
attachment E,
I just wanna see, is it here, is he saying?
What date attachment E?
What is it considered?
I don't have a specific date on this, but what was in,
That's true.
yes, and I have requested an update before completeness.
I have one dated May 15th, that's the most recent.
That's all I have.
I don't have the date on this one,
Right here.
March 15th.
yeah, then this.
Oh, sorry, I did it.
Yeah, this was requested change
No, but I think there was one.
by Eileen with a letter that had been sent to us. And so that had been changed, all of these and then submitted to the board. Before we got the completeness.
Okay, yeah. We have the new one, you have the new one.
Can you know what's up? See, this is.
Yes, that was submitted after requested. That wasn't the later.
Oh, that goes with your setback, okay.
Yeah.
All right, so here, okay, because this one you put accessory structure.
And then, Eileen, correct.
Okay, so I'm looking at the accessory structure one, right?
Okay.
Let's forget
Yeah,
that.
I'm sorry.
Okay. Now it makes sense. Now we're going, because you'd never percentage on that because it's not a percentage.
Right.
Variance. Okay. So now we're going to 13 point, what we said,
13.2 feet,
and what percent?
that would be 8%.
8%. Okay, good. All right, now we're on the same page.
Okay.
It's done.
So the property, it's 241 Long Hill Drive. The house was constructed in 1956. Currently, it's a 1.5 story house. And so mostly everything is on the first floor. There are some bedroom spaces and shed dormers and other things up at the second floor, but it's not currently a kind of a full second story. The lot has significant slope to it, both in the front of the lot and also in the rear of the lot. Where the house sits towards the center of the property, there is less slope, and although you do have currently the garage is in the basement, so the driveway comes in along the right side of the property and comes down and is located in the basement underneath the living space at the lower level. And then the grade comes up and to the left. So while this side of the house has that drop to it and the exposed basement garage, the left side of the house, the grade is much higher and it's more of a typical condition. So the house is located in the R4 zone. The property is 20,485 square feet, so it conforms in size to the 20,000 square feet for the R4 zone. The lot is 170.6 feet deep, taken through because of the triangular aspect of the property. We have this unique shape where generally we would have an extended side yard and then something of a squared off rear yard. In this case, this side yard comes up, and based on the four sides of the property, or the four lines, this becomes the rear yard. And so with our lot depth and then the rear yard coming in, this line coming across on the site plan is the 34.1 foot rear yard setback for the 20% of that. So it's a bit of an odd condition where the side yard is essentially acting like the rear yard. The proposed work this is sheet A2 within the set that you have. The one difference between what you have in your set and what is shown here is I added, these are the existing conditions plans, I've added the wood deck that's currently on the house to give a clearer depiction of how it relates back and forth to what's being proposed. So the current house has, towards the right side of the house, bedrooms and a study on this main floor. And then you have towards the left, the existing living areas. So you have a kitchen going towards the rear, a dining room, a small dining room area adjacent to that, a living room space, and then a small kind of truncated sunroom space, which has a large masonry fireplace that bisects the two and kind of blocks the space from being used together. There is no family room space on the house now. So it's, with the footprint that it has, it's fairly limited in terms of living area because the majority of the bedrooms are located at the main floor. The second floor of the house, there is a shed dormer that runs along the rear, and that, as you come up the stairs, that creates space for two bedrooms and a bath that are at the top of that current second floor. There's an existing wood deck on the house that comes out from behind the sunroom in this area, next to the dining room, and then fills in and extends out behind the dining room, and has a chamfered corner to the side here, and the steps of this now run right along the left side. So the proposed project consists of a 1.5-story addition at this front area, kind of taking over the existing sunroom space, removing that masonry fireplace, and extending the wall out. So still maintaining a living room on the house, but then creating a proper family room for living area and space along this left side, utilizing as much of what was there previously as possible, but getting a good sized space for furniture arrangement and just usability of the space. And then the rear corner where the deck currently sits now and then goes out onto the deck further, that area is proposed to be filled in again with a 1.5-story addition, creating a larger dining room that's more consistent with the living space sizes and also allows for a slight expansion of the kitchen. It's still by no means large, but at least it's functional as a current kitchen with sink, range, and being able to have an island within the space, and making that usable and still having something of a breakfast area. The clouded area is the stair, which was previously all the way at the edge over here, and was shifted over to reduce the request of the side yard setback or the rear yard setback variance. This outline here is silhouetted in is the line of the existing deck. So we actually, by getting rid of that stair, we're pulling it further away from the side, and over here now where that setback or rear yard setback line comes to for the 13.2, we've proposed to square off the corner of that existing deck just to make it more usable and be able to kind of take advantage of that space without having to really enlarge the deck all that much. So back on the site plan, we can see the proposed 1.5-story addition here. The 2-story addition further in, kind of set more towards the center of the house. And the 1.5-story addition in that back kind of missing corner of the house now to fill in for that, what shown as that dining room area. And then we have our pre-existing wood deck where we're getting rid of the stairs that are there, requesting to fill in and create get rid of that angled corner of the deck and then the clouded area upstairs. So the proposed variances for this are a front yard setback variance. The prevailing required front yard is 51.3 feet as calculated by the new definition for a front yard. And the proposed is 50.3. So the requested variance is for 1 foot. The rear yard setback variance, which we discussed, is currently the existing is at 15.5 feet, and the request is at 9%. And so the proposed is 13.2 feet to the corner of that deck, not to the building, and that's 8%. But the required for the zone is 20% or 34.1. And the extent of that is exacerbated by the uniquely shaped angle, the triangular shape of the property. There is a building coverage variance requested. The current building coverage is 10.9%. The proposed is 14.14%. The maximum allowable is 14%. So the requested variance is 0.14%, which equals out to about 28 square feet. And that stems from in the back right-hand corner down at the lower basement level, coming out where the garage is. Only at that lower level, there is a proposed essentially extension to that foundation with a roof at the lower level. There's no first floor or second floor space there, but it essentially continues the inside shape of the garage to provide some storage space within the house. Currently, there's the 2-car garage. They're limited on storage. The slopes of the property and everything else somewhat limit any kind of shed or accessory structure to be used in a good way. So they're looking to fill in the corner here that the square footage of counting that towards the building coverage accounts for that 0.14% of that 28 square feet over the allowable building coverage.
Don't you expand your building coverage in front as well?
Yes, well, these aspects.
28 feet, but.
Right, these aspects, these pieces for the proposed addition would sit under the allowable building coverage in terms of the percentage.
It's how you pick it.
Correct, yes, but in this case, and I guess the way that I'm phrasing it is this was in the process of the project. This was proposed at a later point down the road. Kind of separate from these, but yes, you're correct. It all goes together. So yes, the overall amount of exceeded building coverage from the allowable is 28 square feet in total. And then the fourth is a second floor side yard setback. The two 1.5-story additions on the side of the house. Those as at the outer edge, they are at the 18 feet. But as that gable roof slopes inward, it goes beyond the 18 feet, requiring the 22-foot setback. The house is not squared, or the property is not squared to the edge of the house. And so we have two numbers there. At the front of the addition, currently, or at the front of the house, it's 19.87 feet. And at the rear, it's 17.39. And the proposed is 19.8 at the front addition and 15.7 at the rear, based on that angle. And the required is 22 feet for that setback.
Did you show the 19.8 on your plan?
No, there is no 19.8 dimension line.
But it's to be reflected. It's the front corner.
It is the front leftmost corner of the proposed addition that goes right over the front edge of the front setback.
Thank you.
And so the goal of the project is to add space to the existing home that will allow it to function more for current living standards, slightly larger spaces, especially in the living area, and also for the client's needs in terms of multi-generational living and kind of a large living area inside the house where families can gather. That family room is that piece towards the front. And same in the rear, where it is proposed to be filled in, again, to get a slightly larger kitchen and a little bit more spacious dining room area. So the house really kind of meets a current size or a current living standard. Again, with the deck area, similar scenario where we have, not expanding much beyond what the existing deck is, looking to square off that corner of the chamfer edge of the deck to make that space more usable and functional for the house. We're somewhat set with and stuck with based on where the house is, having those living areas and things with the location of the kitchen towards that left side, and then the pre-existing bedrooms and other things towards the right side of that space, which would be remaining at the first floor. And just as a note in terms of other zoning requirements, because of the slope of the lot, none of the aspects propose any disturbance in steep slope areas. And we provided calculating the average ground elevation. It was very specific and detailed, not only for working within the required 35-foot height maximum with over 8 on 12 in steepness, but also to satisfy the building code at a future point if it were to be approved. So we're not creating a situation where we have a zoning approval, but we're then creating what's considered to be an additional story. If the basement were considered a story above grade, that would make this a 3-story house. And so all of the calculations associated with this and everything that is listed here is only a 2-story house based on all of those required calculations going around the grade for the property. The only other point would be that in terms of the overall bulk and size of the house and what's being proposed, the allowable floor area within the zone for the total amount of the house is allowed at a maximum of 26%, and with the proposed additions and everything going on to the house, the proposed amount of total floor area is 22.9%. So the overall area within the house is still significantly smaller than the total allowable maximum floor area.
Any questions from the board? I realize you have some anomalies with this lot.
We do, yes, we're we meet the required size. We're 20,485 square feet, and the required is the 20,000.
So the building coverage, anything you can do with that?
With the building coverage, since it is only 28 feet, we could, with the extent of that, if we were to lessen some of this area over to the side where the storage is proposed, I'm sure we could squeeze out 28 feet and reduce that portion of it. So you would eliminate the request for a building coverage variance.
Any questions from the board? Let the record show that there's no one in the audience other than the applicant and the applicant's professional.
Just maybe a little bit, if you're gonna propose to eliminate the building coverage variance, just can you be just a little bit more specific as to what you would do? And I know you're pointing to the, the back right-hand corner where there's what proposed storage.
Yeah, lower level storage at the basement level.
Right, so what would you do specifically to eliminate the variance?
To eliminate the variance, we would, currently we have the rear wall of that, or the rear wall face lined up with the rear wall of the existing house.
Right.
And what we would propose to do is pull in, so you can see, pull in that rear wall I believe it's about a 12 and a half or a 13-foot long wall, pull that in approximately 2 feet from that back wall to maintain storage space there, but therefore eliminating 28 square feet of overall coverage on the property, building coverage on the property.
Thank you.
Any thoughts of moving in the front extension in and maybe even eliminate the front yard setback?
We had discussed that, and I had brought that up as you know, kind of a way to approach it, since it is such a small amount. The size of that room and that main kind of family room or living area in the front of the house there was a very specific size driven by family members, furniture that they have to do within that space and kind of usability of that space for what they wanted. So it was discussed, but ultimately decided not to pull that back a foot. And that's where that's stemmed from. So there was discussion to do that.
But I mean, on the second floor, that you have a 26-foot deep closet, which is a great closet, by the way.
And fill them up with scrubs.
Yeah.
We have no closet right now, so
Yeah.
it's going from one end to the other.
Yeah, I've been moving around my stuff
Yeah.
every season.
Like, so again, I can't speak to the technicalities of this, right? The whole reason the storage designed the way it is. To Dan's point, leaving aside the constraints we have on the main level, on our basement, we have a 2-car garage. And the garage is sized as such, anything more than a 5-seater doesn't fit in. All our trash cans have to be outside every day. The regular ones as well as recycles. We can't put kids' bicycles in it, which is really small. And so the notion for building that storage was to at least make sure right now, all 3 trash cans are outside every day. It's an eyesore, not just for neighbors, for us as well. So we want space to put that in. We want space to put the bicycles in and all of that. 28 square feet to us eliminates a lot of that need, so that we don't have to, if you're going to do all this and make this continue to be a forever home and make it look the way it's going to look, we want to reduce every possibility to have an eyesore. Challenge is if we pull that in, that has to go back in the garage. We only have a 2-car garage, that means the cars have to be outside, which is functionally what we want to avoid as part of this renovation. We contemplated really hard building a 3rd garage. It's just not possible. Because that reaches, I think, variances to a much higher degree. So we are kind of dealing with a lot of these constraints. Challenge for us also, I think, to Dan's point, is just like, this is not a complaint, we love our house. It's extremely steep. So we're gonna have to deal with a lot of those issues as well. And so that was the whole reason why we pushed Dan to say, hey, if there is a way to avoid any more jagged lines and we can just flush it out, to just make sure we get the space to just store stuff inside, let's see if we can get that. So that was just to give you guys a perspective on why we asked for that variance.
And to address the board's question, the question that they're asking is ultimately, if that front corner of that family room and everything else that is being pushed out, if that was pulled back to the front yard setback line, that would reduce 26.5 feet of building coverage. So in essence, the storage area below would not have to be changed maybe 2 or 3 inches, but to no significant amount. And in pulling that back 1 foot, you would conform with the front yard setback as well as essentially eliminate the building coverage variance. And that's the question, is has that been discussed, or is that something that's?
Yeah, it was discussed. Like, it was discussed extensively amongst us. And look, this is not stuff that I guess, within the purview or your should, I honestly care about. Our request to Dan was, look, we don't want to do anything egregious. It's a little bit less than 12 inches, if you go precise. And so our request to him was, to us, it doesn't feel onerous, but again, you all have the perspective more than us. Let's make the ask and get your guidance. It would matter to us, but again, part of this is kind of getting your guidance, because we are coming from an environment after the last 9 years. We love our house. Our kid doesn't even have one bathroom. She shares it with her grandparents. So there are constraints we are genuinely trying to solve for. Every inch matters to us, undeniably. But again, part of this was coming to you guys, getting your perspective. It is 11-ish inches. It's literally under the foot. Is that something we can get?
Looking at this, where it gets to be a little more complicated is that, you your lot does have some anomalies to it, which make developing it slightly more of a hardship. The problem is that when you get into things like building coverage and front yard setback variances, those are manufactured by your design. So that's where we get a little bit of a stumbling block here. We understand for you it's a matter of your need, but from a municipal land use perspective, we have to say, okay, is the criteria met for either a C1 or C2 hardship? And this is where I struggle with this, is that from a C1 perspective, I don't think you really have a hardship in your front yard clearly, or in that back corner where you're talking about it. So then you go to a C2 and say, well, is this good planning in terms of the zoning plan, the master plan, to take an oversized lot and come closer to the street? I personally don't have so much of an issue with the front yard setback, because I don't think it's gonna be perceivable. It's, to me, to say, okay, we have an oversized lot and we're still exceeding the building code. Because that is something you still get the benefit of regardless of the topography.
But we are not able to use a large chunk of our land because that part over there is all wooded.
Well, that's neither here nor there. You're using the ability to build on your lot based on having that. Okay, that's why your building coverage is what it is. Okay, so you get a percentage of the lot. So you have a benefit on your lot right now because you're over by 500 square feet than the actual.
How does that complement that?
Yeah, the area is all appropriately accounted.
So if we remove the pavement and put grass over it, does it have?
That would be impervious coverage, that's not building coverage.
Yes, I think it's the physical plan.
Okay.
That you're getting benefit of the fact you have a slightly oversized lot. I mean, I could be convinced otherwise, believe me, but I'm just merely saying that from a C1 or C2 perspective, I struggle with it to be asking for a 0.14% variance. You know, that's sort of like,
I would have loved to come and ask for 5%. He convinced me otherwise, just being honest. This is the 5th iteration of the plans. The first one was so egregious, he rightfully pulled us back. So I'm gonna go.
like I said, it's always better to ask what you need versus what you want.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that it's at 1 feet, or 1 feet that you did back, it will give back 26.5 square foot area, so which means it is.
The front wall of the proposed addition is a little bit over 26 feet wide. And so a 1 foot reduction in length of that space would give you something a hair more than 26 square feet of reduced building coverage.
That 26 square feet reduction would basically reflect in the family room.
That is, yeah, that is the front
the
wall
entire
of the family room space.
Any further questions? Then I will close the public portion of this hearing. Also, let me know there's no one that wants to comment. So, folks, what are your thoughts?
I think that sometimes as a board, we get caught up in the numbers, particularly when they're like these really small numbers. And I agree with what you said about the front yard setback and that we're not gonna really, no one's gonna really perceive that 1 foot. I have to be honest, I kind of feel that way for the building coverage as well. I think that, you know, the applicants are not seeking to knock down this house and, you know, rebuild it, like it's located in this particular location on the property, so they are working within kind of those, you know, confines of where it is. I don't have such a problem with it. I mean, listen, if you wanted to get rid of it, I wouldn't complain, I wouldn't argue, but I don't have a huge problem with it. So just my thoughts. I'm curious what the rest of the board thinks.
I'm coming out the same, 50 feet is long enough and it's deep enough, and a feet here or there would make a difference. And if that 28 feet at the back, I think it gives you functionality, what you're looking for. I think it's fine to keep it. From my point of view, I could be supportive because the numbers are not that large. That's what I.
I'll go the other side. If it's just so minor, I mean, you could take the 4 variances and knock it right down to 2, and you would have probably everybody just jump on it. That's just a thought, again. I mean, not that I don't like ruling on things, but it's nice, but if you can get a clean resolution, so to speak, and bring it to us, that's kind of what I look for, but. Again, I agree with what everyone said, but it's imperceptible, a foot is nothing, I agree. It's and also, depending on how they measured it, the foot could actually be less, but I can go either way.
Actually with Joe, and I think like one thing you can definitely reduce it, and if the furniture is that important to you, you probably show it in the floor plan already. And I just see it, probably you have space to reduce it, just 1 foot, and it will make the number looks a lot better.
So I'll make the deal here, if you're gonna count votes. I think at the end of the day here, I think since you're set back already at 50 feet, like I said, I don't think the 1 foot's gonna be perceptible. Do I like the fact it's coming a foot closer? No, but at the end of the day, I don't really have an issue with that. You know, I always say that, you know, it's always better to ask for what you need versus what you want. I think you've got this package down to really what you need. You know, do I like seeing a 0.14% variances? No, because to me, that's not trying. Like, that's sort of like, okay, really. But I get it. You know, you're squaring off the corner of the house, it's giving you a little more storage. So, you know, at the end of the day, I would be supportive of it as applied. So with that, I'm assuming you'd be happy to move forward.
No, we could just validate the transition. Okay. That's true. They would like to go ahead and have you do a vote based on what is presented here.
Very well. Can I have a motion in this case?
I will move to approve.
A second?
Second.
Sorry,
Second.
Joseph Caulfield,
Yes.
Chandra Harjani,
Yes.
Priscilla Surratt,
Yes.
Zhajang Peng,
Yes,
Esther Black,
Yes.
Craig Plummer.
Yes, good luck with the project.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thanks
We
very much.
Appreciate it. Thank you
The
so much.
last one is also to be carried, the last application.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I got them mixed up. I forgot the other one, Meadowbrook is getting to the net.
Oh.
And it didn't come tonight. And
Who
the
do I
other one is-
provide exhibits to?
Anything that was marked,
And
anything that
give
was
that
marked.
to you?
needs- Otherwise,
Do we announce that?
we have to announce that. 'cause we
Okay,
did
I'll do it now.
the South Mountain.
Calendar 399824, 33 South Mountain Road in Milburn, will be carried to
October 10th.
October 7th with no further notice. With that, can I have a motion to adjourn? And a second? Second, all those in favor? Probably good.
I know, I know.
To continue to